Hey everybody, this is Mike, and I am back from PAX. I'm recording this Sunday night after I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I got to play a ton of great games. Love that convention. After my first Gen Con, it was nice to go back to something a little bit smaller and easier to play demos at. And yeah, I played 16 games total. I'm going to rank them all. These are all new or mostly new to me, and pretty much all of them are new games or games that are coming out in the future, except for I think one that's a little bit older. But before I get to the ones I played, I did have three other games to mention briefly. First is Elder Scrolls, the one from Chip Theory Games. I played this and talked about it at Gen Con. This time I didn't play, I just watched while Liz Davidson and Peter, I put him like in my spot, and some other people played it. So we'll have some stuff to say about it. I'm sure Peter will in the podcast we're going to have this week. But he liked it a lot. He thought it was better than Too Many Bones, which I think is an opinion that I share at this point. And it continues to look great. Really excited for that one. I also got a chance to look at Luthier, which is the upcoming game from Paverson. They're the ones who did Distilled, which is one of my favorite Euros of this year. And in this one, you're making instruments for the great composers of the older era. And I was supposed to have a demo of this one, and I got the time messed up and didn't get to play, which is totally my fault. But Dave Beck was nice enough to walk me through how the game plays, what the solo is going to look like, and it looks awesome. I mean, I really like what they're doing with more thematic Euros. And distilling is a theme that I liked, and instruments and music is a theme that I like as well. So I'm excited for Luthier. And finally, one that's going to be on crowdfunding pretty soon, I think like mid to late January, is Metro Runner. This one I also didn't get to play, but I got to kind of talk through it and see what it's about. And Jason's already recorded a preview for this one. It should be coming out right around the turn of the year. It also looks really cool. I like cyberpunk themes. It's got a fun little melding of mechanics that look like they can be pretty deep, but also pretty streamlined. So just three games that I didn't get to actually play, so I couldn't really rank them, but I thought they looked neat. All right, but now getting to the 16 games I actually played. And here's the thing, I enjoyed every single game I played. So even number 16 that I'm about to talk about is not a bad game by any stretch. These are all things that I enjoyed, but something has to be at the bottom. And in this case, it is Kuka Konig or Kuka King, which is a random card game that Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple picked up. And we played in a bar that we went away from the convention for, where we got some burgers and some beers. And yeah, it's you have your fists. And there's cards with like these sets of 3 cards at a time, and you go Kuka King, and you put on your fingers which row of cards you want to get, and then you get those cards and you score them at the midpoint of the game, at the end of the game, and you try to get the most points for combos and stuff. But if you pick the same number as somebody else, one of the cards goes away, and then you go again, and you can kind of like mess them up if you anticipate, ooh, they really want that one. You can get rid of the cards that they're like really going for. So it was fine. I had a good time. It's not one I would seek out or buy, but it was definitely goofy, especially in a bar surrounded by people, to be throwing our fists around and saying random words. So that was a good time. Number 15 is Star Wars Unlimited. This is the upcoming or new, or maybe it's available now, CCG collectible card game from Fantasy Flight. And it is a CCG, not an LCG, but there's a competitive 1v1 head-to-head deck construction fighting game. I was Luke, and I was playing against one of the designers as Darth Vader, and he murdered me in the first game, and I came kind of close in the second game, but still lost. And the only reason this is at rank 15, because I actually had a ton of fun with it, is that it's a CCG. And I've been there before. I was back into Magic when I was 30 plus years ago, and Netrunner and all these different things. So, yeah, I'm not buying into a CCG ever again. But that being said, I could see myself maybe getting the starter set. It was a good time. It has I think Lorcana does this too. It has that thing where you're putting cards from your hand down as resources. So you have this tough choice of which cards you want to keep and which ones you want to put down for your resource engine. It's cool that your leaders come into play. So Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader appear on the battlefield and start kicking butt at some point in the game. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed the play. But again, no way I'm ever buying this, or maybe the starter set if I can really be pushed into it. So that was Star Wars Unlimited, my number 15. And then my number 14 is really only my number 14 because it needs a lot more development. It's a very early look at the game. I think this one won't be going to crowdfunding until at least the middle of next year. This is called Star Driven Gateway. This is from Rock Manor, and they showed it to me. I only got to play the competitive mode, again against Jeremy. I think Jeremy was my opponent in the most games this weekend. But it's competitive or solo or cooperative. I didn't get to see the solo cooperative yet. It's a bit of a Firefly-ish, or I'm trying to think of other games, or Merchant and Marauders-ish. kind of game. You're like going around completing missions in outer space, fighting bad guys. It has this cool mechanic where you're putting crew members down and they have special powers, but then you're also using this dice placement mechanic to like activate your stations. Some parts didn't feel entirely balanced yet, especially for competitive. I think for solo co-op it would probably work better, but I enjoyed what I played. I definitely need to see more and see how the game kind of turns out as they work on it more. But Star Driven Gateway was my number 14. Definitely a lot of fun. My number 13 is one that was for sale, I think, at the convention. They did give me a review copy, and that's called Skyrockets. And this one is almost the same basic game as Kites that I reviewed, I think, earlier this year. And that one, if you didn't see my coverage, was it's all about flipping hourglasses, but you can't let any of them run out. So you're playing cards to flip different colors of hourglasses, but a card might flip the one that's about to run out, but also flip another one that's not about to run out. So you kind of want to get them near the end and then flip them. But this one is cool, Skyrockets, because they added in a scenario system where there's like all these different rules. I think it's like 30 scenarios, so a ton of content. And also a fun little change is that you want one of the hourglasses to run out because you keep on flipping it and it's the fuse to light the fireworks at the end of the game. So you're like trying to keep these ones alive while trying to remember to flip that one when it runs out. It was a lot of fun. You know, it's goofy, it's real time. My family doesn't like that as much anymore as they used to, but I still had a good time with it. That's my number 13, Skyrockets. My number 12 is the only game on this list that's not from like this year, I guess, or recent times, and that is Red Dragon Inn. I'm not saying Battle for Greyport. I'm not saying Tales for the Red Dragon Inn. This is that fully competitive one where you're like drinking and trying to not pass out first that I've somehow never played. So I got to play the base set with these like 3 random dudes I sat down with. They were great because they were all totally into it and like just trying to get each other drunk, you know, metaphorically drunk in the game and beating each other up. And I was kind of like this along for the ride, watching them like make fun of each other. It was a lot of fun. You know, is it a deep game? I don't know. I did actually buy a copy. This is the only game I bought at the convention. I bought a copy of the 8th set because I love the Slugfest people and I just wanted to kind of support them. So I haven't played with my family yet. Hopefully my kids will like it. If not, I guess it won't stay around very long. But yeah, it was a lot of goofy fun, and I just felt weird that I'd never played it before. So that is Red Dragon Inn, the oldest game on the list. And yeah, I did buy a copy at the convention. Next, my number 11 is a pretty recent one from Czech Games Edition, and this is also only competitive. Sorry, there are quite a few of these on the list for those solo co-op people. This one is Kutna Hora, which is new, or again, pretty new from Czech Games. This is an economic Euro. Jeremy Howard taught it to us. Again, I was playing with him a lot. And it was a lot of fun. I love, they had showed me at Gen Con, I got to like kind of see a peek at the game, and they had showed me how the economy works. But basically you're like moving these cards as the population of the town increases and as you bring more people there. But then you're also like moving these sliders as the production of different resources increases. And all of it has kind of logical, realistic impact on the resource prices. And then you're mining, but you're also building buildings, and you're also trying to get like all these different points from different things. I tend to like economic Euros, and this was a really solid one. I would totally be happy to play this again. Although it does not have any solo mode, so I'm never going to cover it, but definitely a fun one. Not one I would probably own myself, because I don't usually buy Euros, and my kids can't play. I leave that to my friends. But yeah, that was Kutna Hora, my number 11. And getting into the top 10 from the convention, number 10 is Conquest Princess. This is one I'd played at, I think, a PAX 1 or 2 years ago, and since then it had a successful GameFound campaign, but they're going to do another campaign on Kickstarter to add like a little mini expansion, and I guess just get some more love for the game, hopefully, some more attention on it. When I played it originally at the older PAX, I didn't have a great time with it. But man, this time, I can't really remember what they changed, but it was a blast. I was playing with an awesome group. The designer is a wacko in the best kind of way. I love the guy. And yeah, it's a crazy theme. It reminds me of Henry Audubon's Cosmoctopus. It's a game where like you hear what the theme is and you're like, what are you talking about? Because you're like, you're space adventurers on a time spaceship called the Tiara, and you're trying to fight some evil. It's like Mugatu from Zoolander, but it's not Mugatu. It was like a variation on that name. So like he's trying to stop your fashion power, and like your fashion clothes give you power, and you can like transform into a princess, Sailor Moon style. I don't freaking know, but it was a lot of fun. It has a really cool storyline. It had really good cooperative gameplay and like really interesting tactical stuff. Like wherever my character stopped, anybody else who went into my space would get to like use my powers to boost them. So I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, way better than the first time I played it. And I'm going to do a preview for the new Kickstarter. So I'm really excited for Conquest Princess, my number 10. Next, number 9, this was a Jeremy Howard and me one. This is another game that he randomly bought. And after we were at that bar playing Kuka King, we were in a hotel playing this one. This is Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. And I did just talk to the publisher, and I think they're going to send me a review copy because I really enjoyed this one. So, this disclaimer for that. But this is another 2-player only trick taking game in the vein of Sail and Fox and the Forest Duet, which I've covered both of. But this one was, interestingly, I think, the most complex out of those 3 and had the most challenging decisions, which does, I think, mean it would be the toughest to like play with my kids. But it was really, really cool because just to kind of briefly go into it. So you each get 12 cards, but you each give 4 of them to like this kind of AI city that's like chasing you. So there's 3 hands of 8. You're playing to 8 tricks, if you all know trick takers. But as the colors are broken, there are 3 colors, blue, red, and black. As colors of those suits are played, it determines what the kind of like Trump style ranking of the suits is. So like if red is the first card played, then red's the lowest suit and any other color will beat red. And then if blue's next, then blue's in the middle and black will beat everything. And then you can like change that with these potion cards. And Scotland Yard is chasing you. So sort of like Sail, you don't want to let certain cards get captured by you. You want to give them to the city instead in this case. And then you're trying to like move along and outpace them. And there's a bunch of scenarios. We only played the basic ones. So I'm really excited to do more of this, dig in more. For now, it's at my number 9, but Jeremy and I played like 5 games in a row and had a blast with it. So that's my number 9. Next, number 8 is Rove, and not R.O.VE, the button shy one that I adore. This is a big dungeon crawler, boss battler campaign game. It's from the people who did Crimson Sands. And disclaimer, I didn't know at the time, but they're kind of connected to the Level Up group. I'm not sure if it's like shared ownership or something. So they did they did pay for me to go to the Level Up event earlier this year. So, little disclaimer there. And I am planning to do a preview of this one because I really enjoyed it. Rove. So it's kind of Gloomhaven-ish a little bit, but a lot of cool things. So first of all, when you take your basic actions, because you like resolve 1 action card a turn, you get these dice to build up, but then you have these more powerful actions and you have to spend dice to activate those. You have this like fun ebb and flow of building up powers and then doing awesome combos. And even showed us you have these like group combos, reminding me of like Chrono Trigger, where you have like a card for the exact 3 heroes you're playing, or a card for these exact 4 party of heroes. And it's like thematically based on them. So like the tank runs forward and smashes somebody, and then the rogue jumps over him and like throws some daggers, and then the wizard does a fireball on them. So yeah, it really gave me like that JRPG like combo feel. A lot of fun stuff there. It has the buttons and bugs thing where you're flipping cards as you use them. So like the actions you have available to you dynamically change. So I was really into this one. The only reason it's my number 8 is because I only got to play like the basic tutorial and they like just kind of taught the game to us. But I expect this to be really awesome and to be whenever it comes out, to be one of my favorite adventure games of the year. So we'll see what happens. But that again is Rove, my number 8. And my number 7, speaking of it, is Buttons and Bugs. If you don't know, this is the solo only, like little tiny box, $15 or $20 Gloomhaven game. And I had read the rules a bit before. I did hear the whole controversy about there being no full rulebook in the game, but I understand why, because it's a tiny box, and this is basically Gloomhaven. Like 90% of the Gloomhaven rules are the same here, so there's no way they could have ever fit the game in the box in the first, or the rulebook in the box. But I still get that it's annoying. That being said, as somebody who's played a ton of Gloomhaven, I was able to jump right in. I don't think I would even really need a rulebook personally, but yeah, this was awesome. So you're playing on cards. I'm sure everyone who like wants to know about the game already knows what it looks like, but you're playing on cards. You're moving around on the cards, but you're still doing the same basic Gloomhaven thing where you're playing 2 cards. You're doing the top of one, the bottom of another. But kind of like Rove, whenever you use cards, you flip them from their A to their B side. The actions change. And then when you use them on their B side, you discard them until you rest Gloomhaven style and get all your cards back and lose one of them. So that was exciting. That was cool. You still level up your cards. You still get better in like your attacks. But now you roll dice instead of drawing from a deck. And what I love about this is that you only have a chance to miss, like the miss, the critical miss thing in Gloomhaven. You only have that when you're on certain rows, so you know when there's a 1/3 chance of you missing, and you don't play your best cards then. Whereas in Gloomhaven, sometimes you do your crazy 10 attack and you miss and it sucks. So I really like that. The enemies activate with a D6 roll, so you can see exactly what they might do, which I like better than the enemy activation in Gloomhaven. It took like 5 seconds to set up, whereas one of my main complaints with Gloomhaven, unless we're talking about Jaws of the Lion, is putting out a billion terrain tiles and finding all the enemy decks and all this stuff. So yeah, like I of course have gone a little bit away from giant campaigns and really long setup time. Like that's not where my tastes lie these days. But I would say at this point, I fully expect to much prefer playing Buttons and Bugs over regular Gloomhaven or Frosthaven. Because gosh, we played like 2 scenarios of Frosthaven, haven't gone back to it since. I forgot all about that game. But yeah, Buttons and Bugs, fabulous. Really excited for this one. Rulebook or not, I'm into it. Although I don't think I'm getting a review copy. I think Jason is for our channel, so he'll have some coverage eventually. But I'm going to buy it myself because I really had a good time. So that was my number 7. My number 6 is one that you'll see a video of later this week. Really, 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 really enjoyed it. That's why it's my number 6. And it's one I brought to the convention myself. I did get a review copy from GMT, and this is Twilight Struggle Red Sea. I'm a fan of Twilight Struggle, which is a card-driven conflict war game from years ago. I'd never played Red Sea before, and these days I don't usually have that much time to play a game like Twilight Struggle, which is quite long and is only 1v1 competitive, but Red Sea has an awesome solo mode, and it's a fifth the length of a Twilight Struggle game. So that combo made me very happy. So I played with Jerry, our friend who's often on the podcast with us. And yeah, he beat the pants off me. I was doing great with my control of one part of the world, but kind of let another one go away, and he managed to get a ton of victory points from it. But I had a blast with it. Competitive was awesome. The solo is great, with like a few complaints. Unless I'm playing wrong, you'll see in my video. I'll probably find out. There are some weird things with how the solo works, and like a few really, really minor house rules I might put into effect if I don't find out that I'm just totally playing it wrong. But yeah, really, really like this one. Definitely one of my favorite war games I've played this year, mainly for the form factor and the fact that I can crank it out in like 30 minutes. That's a big bonus. But that was Twilight Struggle Red Sea, which is my number 6. Then for my number 5, I have Kinfire Delve, and this one I did a playthrough of recently, but this game keeps on getting better for me. I had only played it solo, which is why I didn't do my review yet. But now at the con, I got to play with some of the new heroes from the next set. So the first set only has 2 heroes. The second set's going to have another 2, and then there's the third set. I think the second set's coming out I don't know, March or May of next year. And when you get the second set, you can play with up to 3 or 4 players. So I got to play a larger game. I got to play some 2-player co-op. I played with Jerry again, and we got our butt kicked. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this game a ton. I won't say too much more because I am going to do a review of it in the next week or so. But it's quickly gone up to be one of my favorite games of the year. I mean, it's very similar to like 20 Strong and other things. I just like these solo games where you kind of delve in. But the fact that this one has co-op and it works so well and the cooperation is really fun, I think is great. So loving Kinfire Delve. It's my number 5. I want to play more of it. I want the other sets to come out so I can get 3 to 4 player and have more of these characters because I love the new characters, what I saw of them. But yeah, it's my number 5. My number 4 is quite a bit different. This is another competitive-only game. It's React. This is from Brother Ming Games, who did the Genshin Tarot game that I covered, that great deck builder, which is also going to be one of my top games of the year. And this is a 1v1 fighting game like Battler with super asymmetric different characters. That's already Mike Catnip if you've seen all the level 99 fighting games that I play and talk about so much. Now, this one does not have an official solo mode. I'm not sure if I could design a solo mode for it because each of the characters is drastically different, but it's really cool. It's a less directly violent game. Instead, you're playing on this grid, and at least the 2 characters we played couldn't really directly damage each other. They had to summon characters and do stuff with them. But my character was the dancer. I could move around super fluidly, and I would make these fish to help me out, and I would leave scales behind me to do different effects. And then they were a calligrapher, and they were shooting ink at things and mind controlling my units. So it was really fun. It has the stack idea from Magic the Gathering, other CCGs if you've seen it, where like you'll play a main card, but then they can react, then you can react, then they can react, and the first in card is the last out. So a lot of cool tricks. I did manage to win, which made the game seem extra fun for me because I pulled off some awesome combos. But yeah, I already I bought this one myself, so no review copy because again, it's not solo or co-op, and really excited to play this one with my kids. Hopefully, maybe I love Exceed, but we can't play Exceed all the time. But yeah, that is React semicolon act, and I think it's great. That was my number 4. And then my number 3 is kind of aspirational because I only got to play like one turn of Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, and the person who was teaching it wasn't their fault, not criticizing them, but it was the first demo I went to on the first day of the convention, and they didn't know the rules. They like vaguely knew what they were supposed to be doing. They were like reading the rule book in front of us. Again, not their fault. That's what happens when you go. I should have waited a day and gone later. But I did get to talk to Ryan Lockett, the designer, and he kind of explained the mechanics that I was missing. And then he did give me a review copy of the game. And I got to read I didn't get to play it this weekend, unfortunately, except for that quick little demo, but I got to read through the whole rule book. And man, oh man, again, I haven't played through yet, but I'm going to do a video soon because I'm really excited. But everything that I wasn't quite in love with in the original Sleeping Gods is better from what I've seen so far. They've streamlined so much. Not as many characters to deal with, not as many cards to deal with, not as many tokens to deal with, easier movement to get to the fun exploration faster, on airplane to fast travel around. I'm loving everything I see. So yeah, again, I haven't played it much. It was one of the quickest demos I did, and with someone who didn't really know the rules yet. But Sleeping Gods is my number 3. Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. I'm so excited for this. Definitely expect a video of this in the next week or so because I'm going to fast track it because I'm really excited to play it. Then my number 2 is a bit of a different game. This was Great Western Trail New Zealand. So we played this competitively. I've played it before. This is Jerry's copy of the game. Now, I have not played the solo mode. I think Peter has, and he really liked it. So probably Peter or I will do a video on it at some point. So right now I'm just talking about competitive. But man, I enjoyed the original Great Western Trail. I think New Zealand is far and away better for me. You're still, if you don't know Great Western Trail, you're deck building to get livestock into your deck. In this case, it's sheep. And then you're shearing them for money. Whenever you get, you're kind of walking along this little path, and you can put buildings along the path. Whenever you get to the end of the path, you get to deliver some sheep, and you get to place your tokens, leveling yourself up on these different spaces. And then in this one, you're also moving a ship around to dock at ports and unlock new abilities and bonuses there. And there's a lot more deck building than I remember being in Great Western Trail, because you're getting these other bonus cards that replace themselves immediately. So they give you something awesome, and then they get out of the way and let you draw another card. I adore this one. I think it's one of my favorite recent Euros easily. And again, I got to play the solo at some point. Now, it does help. I think I won the last 2 games we played, so I'm clearly a little bit happier with the game than I might be otherwise. But Great Western Trail, New Zealand, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know most people love Great Western Trail, but I love it too. For competitive, someday I'll play solo. Peter said it was really good. He said the AI is quite varied and does kind of fun things with these profession tokens you collect. So yeah, Great Western Trail New Zealand, great game, my number 2. And then what was my number 1? Well, let's bring Jeremy Howard back into the mix because again, I played this one against him and I won. I guess I just like games where I win. I'm a shallow person that way. But this one is Ironwood. This is an upcoming one that I'd never heard of until this convention. I think they only announced it a day or 2 ago. This is from Mind Clash, who usually I think of as fun thematic Euros. This is not that. This is a 1v1 super asymmetric skirmish game. I was the wood faction, who's kind of these rangers flitting in and out of places, striking from the shadows, ambushing. And I was trying to get these totems to save my forest. And then Jeremy was the metal people, these Iron Sworn or something like that. And they were building cities, and they're slower to move, but tougher, better defense. They can build these giant golems, and they're sending this drill around the board to collect crystals. I love asymmetry. I love good skirmish games. This one, the entire game, teach to finish, was I think 50 minutes. Crazy. And it has card play for all your actions on the turn, but then you also use cards for combat. So you got to decide whether you want to keep the good cards for the combat or keep the good cards for the actions. Tons of variety in the stuff we saw. And just switching the factions looked like it would be fun. So yeah, this is right up my alley. And here's the thing, I didn't get to see it yet, but it's got a solo mode, and you can play either faction in the solo. And they said they have the rules yet, but the person teaching the game didn't know them, so that's why I didn't get to like really hear much about it. But yes, they are saying, just disclosure, they'll probably send me a review copy to cover it whenever that's ready. I fully expect to adore it because the game was awesome. So unless they like totally mess up the solo, I think this will be one of my top games whenever it's out. But yeah, that was Ironwood coming sometime. I forget when they said. I feel like it was like middle of next year, 4 months into next year, for longer than I want it to be, is the long and short of it. So yeah, that was my number one game of PAX Unplugged that I played. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that was fun. Let me know which games you're most interested in, or if you were at the convention, what you played that I missed. That was great. And yeah, this is top lists are going to be coming fast and furious. Both Jason and I are going to be doing our top ones coming here. I got a top crowdfunding list. Jason's ranked every game he played on the channel this year. I've got 2 top of the year lists, 40 through 21 and then 20 through number 1, because I played over 110 games this year, so I have a lot to talk about. So it's going to be great. But thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.